laugh like hell. Let's have some fun doing it. That's a big part of it. But let's just not waste any time or energy. It's all about winning. Please reflect that each and every day.
It's time for another edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, joined by Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy inside Ford Center as we put the wraps on 2020 and look ahead to the offseason and 2021. And Coach, just to get things kicked off here, how about we take a look at what has been a busy schedule for you this week? I'm always amazed every year how quickly the calendar flips in the NFL, where you have to turn the table and look ahead to the next year, and you try to do as much evaluation as you can right off the bat, right after the season ends.
I mean, you really do. I mean, you really work on 2 6-month segments, and once the game's completed, as it was Sunday, we jump right into an exit interview process. Having the opportunity to talk to the players Monday and Tuesday. Had the opportunity to talk to the veteran players 4+ years on Monday, and then we had, obviously had our COVID situation, and facility's been closed, so didn't get to complete the in-person player exit interviews, but we've been doing coaching interviews that started on Wednesday, and that'll go through next week. So you kind of jump right in, and really 2021 has begun for us as a coaching staff.
Of course, during the season, you're planning, preparing for games as the season goes along. How important is this sort of self-evaluation period as you get set to approach 2021?
Well, it's critical. There's a lot that comes out of these conversations. You're evaluating throughout the season. I mean, evaluation is part of our everyday process, but it gives you a chance to really now step back and how can you apply the information, the experiences, how can it be applied to the planning going into 2021? So there's a number of things that will be discussed throughout these first 14 days after the season that you'll see show up the first time we were able to have an off-season program, hopefully. First time we have our first team meeting on the practice field and go into training camp. That's been my experience of it. I've always put a lot of value, put a lot of time into this process because, as you develop the cohesiveness and the continuity with your football team, there's always things that you can learn from one another. So this is an important 2 weeks for us as a football program.
Of course, it was a disappointing conclusion to the season last Sunday against the Giants, and you did not reach the goals that you wanted to this season. But do you feel like the foundation has been laid going forward, overcoming a lot of the adversity that this team had to overcome throughout the year?
Well, I mean, it was disappointing. Obviously, walking off the field Sunday in New Jersey, and the thing that it's always refreshing is the players give you the facts, they give you the reality. They're really the heartbeat and the vibe of where we are as a football program, and I can only tell you that. Monday was very inspiring to say, just because of where we started. Obviously, everybody went through the challenge with COVID, but we had some unique challenges to us, to our football team, to our football program, really to the Cowboy family, and just everybody's looking forward to moving forward with this adversity experiences that we've gone through. So, our younger players have played a tremendous amount this year, so that's definitely experiences they go into year 2 that we can build off of. We obviously have a number of veteran players coming back, and then really the core veteran players that did play this year, that gives us the glue and continuity to pull it all together. So, just a lot of positive conversation throughout the week.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show. Much more still to come. In fact, David Moore of the Dallas Morning News joins us next.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, is brought to you by AT&T. Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Built for Texas, built for you. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. And by Reliant, an NRG company. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like SportsDay. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDayDFW.com. And David, Coach earlier was telling us he had some very candid conversations back on Monday with his veteran players, the exit interviews. This is not your exit interview, I will point out, but I want to have a very candid conversation with our veteran player here about this Cowboys team in 2020. Put it in context. What should we gather from the Cowboys 2020?
Well, that's the real difficult part here, isn't it? When you evaluate and determine what needs to be done going forward. There were a lot of encouraging things that happened in December. This team started to play better offensively, defensively, special teams. You started to see some of the things that Mike McCarthy wanted done take root, and you could actually see it yield benefits. But the whole thrust of December was finish. They put themselves in position to finish, to give themselves a chance going into the night game, Washington, Philadelphia, with still a chance to win the division. And they were unable to capitalize on that with a very poor performance. I think improvement was made, but not enough was made. It was clearly too little, too late. And there's still some root issues here that need to be addressed this offseason on both sides of the ball, but primarily on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, they finished third in the division. How do they stack up with the rest of their division even right now?
Well, and here's the other thing, and I know there are a lot of Cowboys fans who were upset with Philadelphia and their approach to that final game against Washington, saying, oh my gosh, if Dallas just would have won that game earlier in the day, if Washington would have done that, if Philadelphia would have done that, how upsetting would it be to Cowboys fans? Well, my response to that is, don't be upset with Philadelphia. Be upset with Dallas for getting smoked by Washington 66-19 in their two games. That's what put the Cowboys in an untenable position going into Week 17. That is why they had to win and couldn't accept a tie with Washington to win the division. And also, when you're looking at where this team is going forward, I think there's reason for excitement because, Dak will come back. You'll get a lot of injured players back, and this team should pick up and be in a pretty good position next year. It should be, but you can't dismiss the fact that the Cowboys, in the worst division in the NFL, far and away the worst division in the NFL, were 2-4 in that division. And that is why it put itself in the position where they played themselves out of it in Week 17, really without giving themselves much of a shot. Too little, too late.
All right, we're going to actually have more with David Moore coming up here on the Mike McCarthy Show in a little bit. But up next, it's another Moore. It's Kellen Moore.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like SportsDay. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
From the Star in Frisco, this is the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. And time to talk about some news the Cowboys have already made for 2021. They've signed offensive coordinator Kellen Moore to a contract extension, and Rob Phillips has more.
We've seen Kellen Moore's role evolve over the last few seasons. 3 years as a backup quarterback with the Cowboys. 1 year as Cowboys quarterbacks coach. The last 2 years as Cowboys offensive coordinator. Now he'll be calling plays in Dallas for more years to come. Moore has reached a contract extension to remain on head coach Mike McCarthy's staff, ending speculation that he might return to his alma mater and fill Boise State's head coaching vacancy. It's a relief for the Cowboys, knowing that Moore, at just 32 years old, can continue to grow into his role.
He played football at this level. He really understands guys' skill sets, and he knows how to put them in positions where they can succeed. I will say that was his biggest strength when he was a player here, just how smart and his knowledge of the game.
Moore isn't a coach who yells and screams. It's a more reserved approach, you might say, more mellow, as Ezekiel Elliott put it. But Moore still finds ways to motivate the offense. And given his age and playing experience, just 3 years removed from being in the league himself, he has a unique ability to relate to his players.
He's overall a great coach. You can relate to him by him being so, young. You can tell that he's very experienced, very, emotional about the game. He's very passionate, and he loves to win and things like that. You love that in the coach.
The Cowboys were the NFL's top offense in 2019. This year, they were on their way to repeating those rankings before season-ending injuries to Dak Prescott and other key starters. Yet the offense adapted. During a 3-game win streak in December, they averaged 36 points a game, more than any other team in the league, and nearly 12 points above their season average.
Just for him to not blink while we go through all that and still put us in good positions to win football games, I mean, it just shows how good of a coach he is.
Kellen Moore worked with 4 different quarterbacks this year, over 10 different offensive line combinations. Challenging, yes, but it did help him grow as a play caller. The offense should be in much better position next year with Dak Prescott getting healthy, as well as other key members of the group. For DallasCowboys.com, I'm Rob Phillips.
All right, thanks, Rob. Up next on the Mike McCarthy Show, the coach rejoins us, and we talk about the challenges this team overcame in 2020. Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, rejoined now by Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. Coach, it's been 1 year now since you were hired as the Cowboys head coach. What would have you had said to me a year ago if I had told you 2 months from now you're going to lose your perennial Pro Bowl center Travis Frederick to retirement? You're going to go through this season and only have your perennial Pro Bowl left tackle for 2 games. Your perennial Pro Bowl right guard is going to miss the final 6 games of the season. And your budding Pro Bowl right tackle, Lyle Collins, will miss the entire season. Oh, by the way, your quarterback's going to get hurt the 5th game of the season.
You want me to answer that question? When you look
Crazy.
back on it, it's pretty remarkable. Injuries are definitely a part of the game, but I think stating the obvious, it's who gets injured, but more importantly, it's when the injuries occur. I think our biggest challenge, on the football field this year was, all the big injuries came so quickly in the season. It's something I've always preached, something I've always believed in, and the statistics speak for themselves. You do have the opportunity to develop your young players throughout the beginning of the season, and normally you have your younger players playing their most snaps in November, December. So really, just losing a lot of great football players that quickly was a big challenge for us.
And of course, no one could have predicted what happened 2 months after you were hired. The pandemic hits, and so you go through the entire offseason, as did all the other teams in the National Football League, where you were teaching your players via something called WebEx, and then you don't meet your players in person for the first time until training camp starts in late July, August, and no preseason games. It's pretty incredible how you're able to navigate through this.
It was different, no question about it. I definitely learned a lot as a football coach, but more importantly as a parent, as a friend, and just really the personal, emotional strain that everybody had to go through. And I cannot say enough about our players, our coaches, the support staff, the football operations, really what they did to make this thing go and keep us safe, and ultimately to keep our families safe. So, obviously we want to see our whole country get through this pandemic, but it was something unique to go through this, and I can't say enough about the Jones family and the organization to keep us in a safe, healthy environment.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, who are some of those unsung stars behind the scenes that helped the team get through the season?
Well, I think you have to start with Todd Williams. I mean, just the way he adjusted on the fly. Laura Fryer, just the protocols. As they come in, Justin McKay. I mean, you talk about the people in football ops that has spring, and then obviously the departments that they head up. I think the defense was operating in 3 different classrooms throughout the year. So to just be able to change on the move and and to try to keep us in some type of regularity and continuity was important. And then really, I would say the MVP of the whole operation was Jim Maurer. I can't say enough about Jim and Britt and the training staff, but Jim was pretty much the COVID go-to person, and was, on the conference calls almost nightly, and really was spared everything that was put in place to keep us safe and to keep our families safe. So I would say Jim Maurer definitely gets the MVP trophy.
And then how about the league as a whole? I mean, there weren't a lot of people coming into this season who believed that the NFL would be able to play an entire 17-week regular season without, there were some games that may have been postponed from a Thursday to a Tuesday. You were involved in that, but in order to navigate through that entire season as a league was pretty remarkable. Yeah,
definitely. And I think they jumped out in front too. They did some things differently that probably not everybody agreed with. And Jerry Jones is a big part of that. I mean, his ability to be involved every step of the way. He has great vision to look around the corner to see what's coming, and I think that was definitely reflected in some of the things that we did here with the testing site, and particularly the testing site for all our families. I think we may have been the first one in the league to do that. So yeah, I can't say enough about the whole process. It was difficult, it was uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, to get this season in was a huge accomplishment.
All right, we continue with more of the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment. Final couple of minutes of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoors studios, now rejoined by David Moore in his own home studio. And how about we go through Wild Card Sunday of the National Football League? David, let's look at the game, starting with the noon game in the AFC, Baltimore against Tennessee. Who do you like in that one?
Well, I think this is the most interesting game of the day in a lot of respects. Tennessee eliminated Baltimore last year when a lot of people thought that Baltimore certainly was going to get to the AFC Championship game. So there's a history there, a little bit of revenge. While Tennessee has played better overall this season, Baltimore has played better of late. They haven't played a lot of good teams, but I think the revenge factor, the fact Lamar has not won a playoff game yet, I think this may be it. I would side with the Ravens in this one. I think it's going to be a very good game.
Yeah, that should be a good matchup. How about the 3:40 game on CBS? Chicago plays at New Orleans.
Alvin Kamara, I guess, is the question in this game under the COVID protocol, whether he can go. That would certainly leave them shorthanded. That being said, we've seen a shorthanded New Orleans offense succeed throughout this season. The defense has improved so much. Not as good as Chicago's defense, but I think even a compromised New Orleans offense is more creative and more potent than Chicago. I think just about everyone leans with the Saints in this one.
And finally, an AFC North matchup. It's Cleveland playing at Pittsburgh. They just met last week.
Yeah, we just saw this. And, Cowboys fans will remember this. It wasn't that long ago that they faced Philadelphia in the final game of the regular season, then turned around and played them 6 days later. That's what's happening here 7 days later for Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Now, different cast of characters. Ben Roethlisberger didn't play for Pittsburgh that final game. He'll certainly play in this one. Kevin Stefanski was the head coach for Cleveland. He won't be there because of COVID in this one. You would lean toward Pittsburgh here, but division matchups are a little different, and playing twice in a span of 7 8 days. These teams know each other very well. Pittsburgh's going to be difficult stopping that Cleveland run game. I wouldn't dismiss Cleveland in this, but you have to lean toward the Steelers historically, I think.
I think I'll take the Steelers as well. All right, David Moore, we appreciate it, and we appreciate all of you joining us for the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. We will see you again next week.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Built for Texas, built for you. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. GEICO, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. and by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.